Hey Ross, thanks as always for doing this.
Gregor.
Pyro was asked the other day, and I wanted to get your take on it too. I mean, you guys have obviously had a pretty remarkable now three home ballparks that you're up to, and returning home for potentially a push for the postseason. So there's probably a human element of you that kind of wants that that Hollywood ending and making a push at the deadline, and then there's probably a side of you that needs to be focused on the long term part of this organization, and the future that you guys have. How do you balance those two things, the here and now and the remarkable journey you guys have, and also the long-term things where you're looking forward to next year as well? How do you balance that going into the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, it is first and foremost such a good feeling to be headed back. And that has been a massive jolt of positive energy throughout the entire organization, not just the clubhouse, and on personal levels, professional levels. And we could not be more excited. So it increases our optimism for sure, but at the same time we've shifted towards that winning cycle and have been hyper focused on improving the organization, improving the major league team any way possible. So it doesn't feel like that tangibly increases our desire to win, but it does feel as though it tangibly increases our optimism.
You've mentioned pitching and defense before as potential areas that you guys could upgrade. When you look at this market after you've talked to teams for the last while now, where do you see the strength in the potential trade market? Is there a specific kind of hitter that there's an abundance of? Is there more starters than bullpen, or vice versa? How do you view the upcoming deadline that way?
Yeah, I mean, we're just thinking about how we can improve our team, and that I think the obvious areas seem to point towards run prevention, as we're scoring a lot of runs. And we've improved in that area in certain ways, and we'll look to see if there's ways to do that. We have to think about winning, really, as it is really what it comes down to. It's not just as simple as preventing more runs. So if we can't improve our team via run prevention, whether that's pitching, defense, or just complementary players, we'll think about improving it from an offensive standpoint as well. So I think the market is not clearly defined yet. I think there's still more to learn on teams and exactly what they will be doing, exactly who will be available, and just how available they are. Prices, as you guys know, tend to really take shape closer to the actual deadline. So but it feels like there's opportunities in all of them, and maybe a little bit less so in the starting pitching category.
Cool. Thanks, Ross.
All right, Gregor.
Go ahead, Shai.
Hey, Ross. Hope you're well, and thanks again for doing this.
You too.
I'm just wondering where do things stand with Nate Pearson? What was the diagnosis there? Do you guys have a firm plan for him and next steps?
Yeah, huge relief is how the reaction from Nate and from us having clarity on being able to move forward. He's throwing again. He will be in a bullpen environment and live BPs within a week, and back into competitive baseball just shortly after that, assuming things go smoothly, and in a more defined role of shorter stints and most likely relief appearances. To manage the workload over the course of this year. So could be a reliever option for us in the near term.
And what from a health perspective, you mentioned you guys were trying to find if there were any underlying causes to the constant groin issues. What was the resolution there? What conclusion did you guys reach?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if this is out or not, but it's sports hernia. So it's something that we can manage in the short term conservatively. And then as we move forward, think about the potential of other procedures or potential, other ways of managing it.
All right. Thanks, Ross.
All right, Shai.
Go ahead, Caitlin.
Hey, Ross. Thanks for your time.
Likewise.
About the return to Toronto, could you just give me a sense of what you think will be the biggest sort of difference maker or competitive advantage getting back there at the time that you guys are getting back there? Is it just a matter of being physically back in a major league stadium? Is it emotionally being in front of the home crowd? Or is it also just the relief of not having that uncertainty. Can you kind of best describe what you think is going to be the difference maker with that?
I really think the biggest difference maker of it all is the energy that we'll get from having local fans and having that full support from our community in that city and that country. So we, by no means have, feel that we've had it bad. Like I feel incredibly supported in Buffalo and felt great about the support that we had in Dunedin, but we haven't had Toronto and we haven't had Canada to locally and in the flesh support us. And that is an incredible boost of energy for our players. And that it seems like the biggest, but going back to a stadium that we know and that we've been in and that we've worked hard to make sure that environment is one for the highest level of performance will definitely be an added benefit. And, the other obvious aspects of being in such just a wonderful city.
Also, just July 30th seems like it's going to be a really busy day for you. Can you just give us a window in how you think you yourself as a GM are going to be able to manage that into the lead up? It's going to be such a big day, and obviously it's also the trade deadline.
Yeah. I think fortunately we've, because of the work that's been done by so many, by Mark Shapiro, Marnie Starkman, and Anouk Karunaratne, we are in a position of being supported. Our baseball operations staff is working around the clock to make sure that we're considering every potential opportunity on the trade deadline. We have an incredible support staff that's helping our major league team think about transitioning, not just as baseball players, but as humans. Shannon Curley's done an incredible job to think about that transition for the families. So, for me, I will be almost entirely focused on the trade deadline. And I'm very grateful because of all of the support that we're given by Rogers and also by Mark Shapiro.
Awesome. Thanks, Ross.
All right, Caitlin.
Go ahead, Mike.
Good afternoon, Ross. Hope you're doing well.
Mike.
It was clearly tough here when you guys played the Yankees. And last night was tough as well, even though I'd like to see how it would be a little closer game. But just in general, I'm interested in your thoughts and your reflection on the support you've gotten from the fans here during most of these games. At times it's been, for a guy who's from here, even surprising to me. Just what are your thoughts as this thing winds down?
Well, I think it's the nature of a border closure, really, and there's nothing that we can do about that. So I think if that border were open, we would have had a lot of Toronto fans here. But, well, if the border were open, we wouldn't have been playing here. So because of that, it was, there was the opportunities for Yankees fans and Red Sox fans to buy tickets. And but I've been really impressed by the number of Blue Jays fans, the number of just really, really sincere baseball fans that were excited to see Major League Baseball here. And there's been incredible moments in this stadium, and hopefully we'll have a couple of more of them these days and understand why, the Red Sox and the Yankees have had some support here.
And just one other thought. I mean, as you look forward here, how many potentially new Blue Jays fans do you think you may have made and gives you a chance maybe to market even more of your major league games to this area, even the rest of this year and going forward?
Very hard to say. Mike, you would probably know better than I do think that we've probably built a better bond with this city because of it, and are really excited about what it means for this AAA relationship, for our AAA players that will be playing here, for the Rich family, and for the leadership of the Buffalo Bisons, our long relationship with Mike Buchkowski. So, really excited about what it means moving forward, and do feel like we have a stronger bond with the city.
Thank you, Ross.
All right.
Hey, Ross. Thanks for the time. Wondering if you can provide any insight into where Corey Dickerson's at as far as his recovery.
Minor league games, and then it'll just be a matter of how many at bats he could need before he's major league ready. But he's really encouraged and exceptionally driven, and we're exceptionally excited about that potential ad.
Sorry, Ross. I think we lost your audio. Yeah, it looks like we lost your audio for the first part of that. So,
Okay.
do you mind repeating what you said there for the beginning?
Sure. So I really excited about yesterday for Corey. He had a great day where, he was on the field. Some of you may have seen that he was running, he was hitting live, and recovered very well today, which is exceptionally encouraging. So that get the first part. And then now he'll be moving to the potential of playing in some rehab assignment games. And then depending upon how many at-bats he needs and how everything's going, will dictate how soon he's available to us for Major League play.
Makes sense. Heard all of that. So thank you.
All right, Ben.
And then also wondering about Alejandro Kirk. I mean, from, afar, you look at the box scores, it looks like he's doing a good job at AAA. How much is he on the radar of the big league team as you guys look to field the best roster you can?
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely on it, and we're glad that he's back to healthy and feeling strong and performing well. Very glad to have that option, and he's very much on our radar.
Gotcha. Thanks.
All right, Ben.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Hey, Ross. Thanks for the time. I was just kind of wondering, was there a moment that it kind of became real for you that the team was going to be coming back to Toronto? Do you remember kind of how you found out?
Yeah, Mitch, it was great. We were just talking about it in here earlier. I found out about 30 minutes before you did. So it really did come together that quickly for us. And, Mark Shapiro made us aware, and then I quickly spoke with the staff, but because it was so close to game time, not wanting to potentially disrupt the rhythms of their routines, we just let it organically start to distribute, but did confirm that it was accurate. And seeing the reactions of our coaching staff, seeing the reactions of our players was a very good feeling, and one that we're glad's here.
And do you kind of have an idea or any thoughts on kind of the long-term impacts of how kind of this season and having to move around could have on your pitch to other players, both kind of positively or negatively?
Moving forward after 2021?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I don't expect us to be facing these challenges anytime soon again. So, I think mostly what we've been focused on in the short term and will continue to focus on is controlling what we can. And our players have been remarkable. I can't say enough. They've just really focused on what they can do to win ball games and improve themselves to be better teammates and be better professional athletes. And I've been so blown away, to be honest with you, just how impressed we've been with our entire group.
Thanks, Ross.
All right, Mitch.
Go ahead, Ben.
Afternoon, Ross. I was
Hey,
curious, what has been the reaction for people that you're close with in Major League Baseball, other teams, executives, players? What's the reaction to you, and what's their reaction been?
Mostly their reaction is, well, I have nothing to complain about in talking to you, but I think that's a bit overstated. I mean, everyone's challenges are unique and everyone's challenges are different. But everyone has seen ours as certainly unique. So, but yeah, it's also been, greeted with a lot of optimism about this organization, about how fun this team is to watch, a lot of commentary around how well our players get along, how well they seem to just really enjoy playing the game. And it's been fun. It's a fun group to be around. I think other executives recognize it. It's a fun team to watch, and not without frustrations and not without challenges that will look to decrease those frustrations. And but our players are in a very good spot mentally, and I think a lot of people across the game have seen that.
You're coming off the heels of a really busy week for the baseball calendar, going into another couple of really busy weeks. What was your reaction when you found out the draft, the All-Star game, all that stuff would kind of be bundled together? What's the ideal scenario for the Blue Jays to go through those different events on a baseball calendar?
Yeah, I mean, my reaction when we found out about the timing, is that what your question is?
Yeah, and knowing that they're very
Yeah.
busy, intense days for the organization, top to bottom.
Yeah, it's a fair question, Ben, and I think fortunately today's similar to what we were talking about with Caitlin and just having so much support. So our amateur scouting staff is we feel very good about. I feel incredible about the leadership of Tony LaCava and incredible about the leadership of Shane Farrell and incredible about the leadership of Ryan Middleman in professional scouting. So we also believe in allowing people to do their jobs. So if we didn't have that, it would be undoable to have things that condensed and still be able to understand all of the opportunities in those different areas. But we do, and every baseball team does in today's game. So, but our reaction was, at the time, it was, that sounds like we'll work with that. We'll work within it. We understand the rationale, would like to create as much energy and momentum around the game as possible. And there was a increased viewership, as everyone saw. And we feel fortunate to have a lot of great leaders in the organization that had us prepared.
Thanks, Ross.
All right, Ben.
Go back to Shy.
Hey, Ross, I'm just wondering from an internal perspective, as you know, your group has become more competitive and your younger players have started to mature. How has your process of sort of managing their expectations around trade deadline time and the information they're hearing externally, the stuff they might be picking up, and just sort of making sure that their expectations are in line with what you're intending to do?
Yeah, I mean, and not too dissimilar to how we're talking about it today. And it's a very similar narrative and dialogue that we're having with our players and our coaching staff. And they've earned it. They've earned the right from staying focused on what they can control with a lot of challenges put in front of them, and put themselves in a good position for us to continue to try to make this team better.
How much feedback do you seek out for players from your leadership group saying, hey, what do you guys think of adding potentially this player? If we did this, how do you think that would impact? And how much of it is, you guys are just sort of assessing what you can get and, parachuting that into the clubhouse?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be very careful with that, as you can imagine. If someone were asking about your peers' role and whether or not how that would impact him, and then how that impacts you carrying that information. So we're always aware of the opportunities to learn from within our clubhouse about potential acquisitions, but we have to be very careful with how we ask those questions out of respect for their teammates. So I'm sure anyone can appreciate that.
And just one last follow-up on that. There are times where player expectations can sometimes surpass. I mean, historically in this franchise, there have been years where player expectations haven't been met within the front office. I'm wondering, how have you faced that sort of a challenge in terms of, players are expecting your group is expecting you to get X, Y, and Z, and maybe you deliver W or whatever?
That's it's similar. It's not as simple as just deciding to do something and making it happen, although you can. There in some cases, I suppose there is the chance, if you have all the resources that you could possibly need, there are ways where you could just decide to do something. It takes two. It takes the opportunity to present itself, and then to the alignment and values for trades to happen, for acquisitions to happen, for moves to happen. And I think that our players know we're committed to trying to close those gaps, and whether or not those values align, time will tell, and we'll see. But our effort and energy will be there.
All right. Thanks again, Ross. Appreciate it.
All right, Shai.
Go ahead, Ben.
Just to follow up on Pearson, and when you talk about his shift to shorter stints, I'm assuming that you're talking about that just for this year, and then there would be a reset potentially in next spring. But am I wrong in making that assumption?
I think that is the most likely scenario. That's what our hope would be.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, Ben.
Go ahead, Buck.
Hey, Ross, thanks for your time today.
You bet.
Trade deadline is a very important time and a very, very busy time, I'm sure. And I don't ask you to identify specifically, but have you, as a front office, as a coaching staff, have you prioritized your needs according to what you would like to help this team with going into the trade deadline?
Yeah, we absolutely have, and it's the balance though, because there's different ways to make your organization and team better and different cost. And until you know the price, it really, as much as you prioritize, whether it's, left-handed hitting, third outfield, infielder, versatile player, versus reliever versus starter, handedness of those roles. Until you understand the price, the prioritization, it really is helpful, but it doesn't drive the process in the end.
With other teams calling you, without being specific about names, how pleased are you with some of the requests that you're getting to validate how well you have done in building up your minor league system?
Well, we definitely feel as though we have the opportunity, and we, our scouting department's done a good job. Our player development and performance departments have done a good job. And obviously we've had some good young players continue to improve, and most of that credit goes to them. So, having good young players in your farm system is important for several reasons. And one of them will present itself now.
One final question, if I may. Mark talked about the granular aspects of the move, and obviously some of that has probably already started. But as far as the team itself, what are some of the hurdles that you have to go through managing your player coaching staff as far as the physical move back to Toronto?
Yeah, I mean, Buck, it's you know it very well. Even just the move from your home to spring training, and what the amount of work that creates for you and your family, and then a move from spring training to a major league city and the logistics around that. And what we've tried to do is provide as much help in any possible way, whether that's just logistics or actual moving trucks or shipping of vehicles, planning, packing. We've tried to provide that to the nth degree for our players. And fortunately, our players in this game, not just Toronto Blue Jays, are somewhat accustomed to it. They're not accustomed to it a couple of times in a season, but they are, and they understand this is the challenge that we have. And Marnie Starkman and Shannon Curley have done just an incredible job of reaching out to our players and their families and making sure we're doing everything we can to ease that burden.
Thank you very much.
All right, Buck.
Go ahead, Ben.
Hey, Ross. Buck talked about the calls you're getting, I guess, on the player development side and for the prospects, the complete packages. I was curious, what's the balance that you guys are receiving on some probably pretty coveted players on the major league roster that you're fielding those calls with too? Oh, the balance of major league request versus minor league talent versus player versus prospect? Yeah, when you're trying to reach out and improve your own major league roster, while other teams are all obviously going to try to do the same thing with a couple of coveted guys. Yeah, I mean, I think every team knows that we're looking to improve our major league team, and subtracting from it makes that in some ways more challenging, but you have to be open-minded. So as our cycle has shifted, and as we've talked about that we are pushing towards that winning now, and every little incremental move that we can make to improve this organization, there is more of an emphasis on the major league team. But it will be open to opportunities, and we have one of the youngest, if not the youngest, position player roster in baseball. So that does create some interest for other teams. But again, we're focused on improving that group. Sure. Caught a cutaway last night of David Phelps in the dugout. Just curious where a couple of guys that could be impact arms if they're available. David Phelps, AJ Cole, and then recently Anthony Castro landing on the IL. Just looking for an update.
Yeah. So David Phelps is down for the year, so we won't see him this year. AJ Cole's throwing bullpens. Anthony Castro should be, he's returning. The pain is very minimal and should be returning to throw again quickly. And then also CJ Edwards is already throwing bullpens again. Thomas Malone is throwing live BP here shortly and will be in games again soon. So we do have some alternatives getting healthy within, as well as Nate Pearson, obviously.
Most of those guys are the PDC.
Well, Anthony Castro is in Trenton. Thomas Malone is here. And then AJ Cole and CJ Edwards are at the PDC.
Okay. Thanks, Ross.
All right, Ben.
Go ahead, Tabby.
Hey, Ross, how are you? Good
Great.
to see you.
You too,
Hey,
Tabby.
I'm going to kind of keep on that theme right there. I was just wondering if you had an update on Alek Manoah, and if he's going to have be more than missing just one start. And if that's so, he hasn't pitched for about 10 days now or something like that. Will he need a rehab also?
Yeah, so he threw yesterday. We're hopeful that he will just miss this one turn in the rotation and be back for that. I can't remember the exact day, but the next turn in the rotation, if all things continue to progress as they are, he should make that. And he threw yesterday and felt okay. So if today goes well and tomorrow's a little bit better, I think that just continues to trend more positively.
Just missed the one. And Thomas Hatch throwing today. If he throws really well, is there a scenario Alec comes back, Hatch stays with the team and pitches out of the bullpen, or do you see him as a starter all the time this season?
Yeah, we would be open to that. I think it'll depend upon, just where we are when we have to make that decision, but I wouldn't rule that out.
Great. Thanks for the update, and it's good to see you.
You too, Tabby.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ross, for your time. And thanks everyone for joining.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good to see everybody.